In depth now on election 2012, the Republican race to see who will challenge President Obama next fall is well underway. But one face you have not seen in the debates is my guest tonight. He's a four-term former congressman. He won't remember this, but I actually lobbied him when he was a freshman.
Oh, my God.
He said, oh, my God. He went on to become Louisiana's governor, and for a good chunk of his political career, he was a Democrat. I'm joined now by Governor Buddy Roemer. Governor, it's great to see you.
Good to be with you, and I didn't remember that you had lobbied me.
I was a young legal services lawyer when Ronald Reagan wanted to eliminate legal services for the poor. Which way did you vote?
I think I gave you a break.
A vote?
I think I gave you a vote.
You know I don't remember, but I'm glad you said that anyway.
It was that campaign contribution. Oh, excuse me.
Speaking of that, I've read a lot about you. Two of the centerpieces of your campaign, job creation, we'll get to in a minute.
Right.
And talking about the corrupting influence of money in politics. So no PAC money, limit contributions to $100. I love it. But one, does the public care about it? And two, isn't it like unilaterally just taping your mouth shut during a campaign to take such little money?
You have to run a different campaign. You can't start with a big bag of money and buy votes. You have to earn the right to be heard. Debates are important to me. One of the things that surprised me, being out of politics for 20 years, is how important the debates are in the primary and how difficult it is to get one. As you said, I'm the only guy running who's been a congressman and a governor. James Monroe, President of the United States, the last one to do that. It can be done, but I need a stage, because without it, no one knows me.
I want to talk about that stage because I know you're focusing on New Hampshire in a minute. But while you're worried about the corrosive influence of money in terms of donations, you're worried about the corrosive influence of corporations that don't pay any taxes, like places like GE.
How do you think that happens?
How does it happen?
They gave $4.3 million to Barack Obama. They gave $4.1 million to John McCain. They bought both sides. What they asked was to be heard in the tax code. Their lobbyists wrote the tax code. You didn't write it. They did.
So, Governor, let's get back to what you said a minute ago. You need to be heard. You need a stage. If you're not going to be rolling in dough, you need a stage. You've been excluded from these debates, and I have to say, I don't quite get it. For New Hampshire, for example, most recent poll, David Paleologos, the pollster from Suffolk, was sitting here a couple of days ago. 1% Herman Cain, 1% Rick Santorum, 1% Governor Roemer. They're there at 1%. You're not. What is that about? The dough?
Maybe it's because I've been gone 20 years. It might be that my two issues are not discussed or asked in any campaign. One is money in politics, and I call it corrupt when a big check is more important than a good idea. Lobbyists are a valuable part of our scene, but they should not be allowed to give checks to candidates. Your job as a lobbyist should not be to raise money for Buddy Roemer. You keep Roemer informed on your issues.
Yeah, but
that's different.
Again, I love this message, but again, no money, no debate.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Are you fighting for this? I mean, I haven't seen. Are there
I'm
lawsuits?
fighting. We're doing 20 things right now, this afternoon. In your back office, waiting to get on today, we've been talking to people all over the country. There are email efforts, there's Facebook efforts. We have the head of the ethics at Harvard Law School. We have a variety of people writing to ask, why not Roemer?
Job creation, second on your agenda. Well, tied with the corrupting influence of money. Now, on the job creation, give me one idea, not a whole litany, one idea that President Roemer would implement, or at least urge Congress to implement, that could turn this nightmare around. What would it be?
I would stop unfair trade with China.
How would you do that?
I would do away with the provision of the tax code that gives companies a foreign tax credit. Mm-hmm. I would stop the provision in the code that allows deduction from taxes of expenses to build overseas plants. You can do it, but only if you buy American products.
Okay, and fine. I'm President Who, and I say in response, so President Roemer, it's an excellent idea. I just want you to know that $1 trillion that we hold in the United States debt, we're calling it in tomorrow.
It's going to happen anyway. It's going to happen anyway. We pay them a fair rate of interest. It's under contract. If they want to stop it, they can do it any time. You know why they don't? It's the safest investment they have. Look, I live in the real world. I got $1 billion banks that I build with his hands. I don't take any bailout money. I've got nothing to do with the federal government. But the President of the United States needs to stand up to China. They're stealing our jobs unfairly. Let me tell you why. Child labor, prison labor, forced labor, no standards on the environment, no work and health standards. Somebody's got to stop it.
Let's talk about the president for a minute. I saw you graded him a T for terrible the other day in terms of his economic policy.
That was bad. I apologize.
It was pretty bad, but I actually was amused by it. what part of his most recent jobs bill is this continuation and expansion of the payroll tax cut. He has a smile on his face, and extending it to small businesses. Why shouldn't we do it, particularly when your fellow Republicans say we don't raise taxes on anybody? They're not willing to raise taxes on the rich with the Bush tax cuts, but they are willing to raise taxes on the middle class. That. What, they should expire too?
No. We should have a tax code that's simple, fair, and progressive. And the rich pay their fair share. We ought to make sure of that. I have no problem with that. But here's the deal. Under the Obama approach, we are stimulating jobs by giving money to consumers, right? What do they spend it on? Goods made in China, goods made in Japan, goods made in Indonesia, that doesn't create American jobs. So
you don't support this payroll tax cut either for the businesses?
Nope. I support a complete rewrite of the tax code.
I would argue, we only have a couple of seconds left here, I would argue two quick things. One, that as important as what Congress does is that it does something. How does President Roemer break this pathetic, puerile, partisan gridlock in Washington? What do you do?
I don't take the special interest money. I'm a free-to-lead president, and everybody knows it on the Republican and Democratic aisle, and I throw deep on tax reform. I clean it up, lower the marginal rate, eliminate deductions, and do not give General Electric an unfair break.
Last question for you. You can tell by listening to this guy for 6 minutes here. Obviously, you're a Boston kid. We can tell from the accent.
I am a
But
Boston
you are
kid.
a Boston kid. Quickly, you lived here for years and years, moved away, then lived here again?
I came when I was 16 to be a freshman in college here. I spent 4 years here as a freshman. Then I spent 3 years here getting a graduate degree in banking. And then I came back as a Kennedy Fellow.
Governor.
I have spent 9 years of my life.
So let's cut to the chase.
Within 10 miles of you.
Forget this campaign finance reform stuff for a second. Red Sox, yes or no?
My prayer is yes, but I am skeptical.
Governor Roemer, my prayer is with you. Thank you so much. Include him in the next debate. He deserves to be there. Republican presidential candidate Buddy Roemer. Next, a nonpartisan forecast from a man who's not running for anything, but he loves the rain. Meteorologist Tim Kelly joins me after the break.